Hey, welcome back. We're going to talk about metal today. So on the right hand side you'll notice I have a couple different examples. We have some brass sheet metal and wire, which is the yellowish colored metal. We have some copper sheet metal and wire examples, which is the reddish color. And then we have the sterling silver, which is the silver colored sheet metal right here. And then I have some examples of some patterned wire up here. Metal comes in a million different forms, so we carry a few in stock here that you can use, mostly round wire of different gauges. So you'll notice that you've got a real thin wire right here versus a thicker wire right here. And then you also have a square wire rather than a round wire right here. And then again, the patterned silver wire right here, sterling silver. So there's some different properties and some reasons why you might pick one metal over the other, one type over the other. One of the things to think about is how strong the metal is. So I had mentioned the word gauge, and gauge refers to the thickness of the metal. So if you take a look at this piece right here of copper, it's very, very thin in comparison to this piece right here. So here is a 26 gauge piece of sheet copper, and here is an 18 gauge piece of sheet copper. And if you're ever in doubt of what gauge that is, you can use the gauge measure and it will slide into the appropriate gauge. This one actually seems like it fits better with the 17 gauge, so sometimes there's a little flexibility in terms of the thickness of it, but this is typically known as an 18 gauge. This one again was a 26 gauge, so it should fit there. I find that it tends to be a little bit thicker than what you think it is when you buy it from the store. So the thinner the metal, the more flexible it is. And you might want that in certain circumstances. You might want that if you were making an earring because you want it to be light, or but you wouldn't want to use this if you were making a bracelet. You would want to pick a thicker gauge metal would be a smarter choice for that. Color is also an option because the brass is going to be the closest looking to gold. Copper has the reddish color to it. You can mix colors when you're working with this. One of the best things about metal is you can actually either fuse them together or solder them together, and that's permanently bonding them. So you can mix and match different colors in your pieces when you're picking your designs out. In terms of cost, the cost of the metal is really by weight. So this is the most expensive here. So you've got a precious metal and sterling silver, and that is 60 cents a gram. Copper and brass are 10 cents a gram. So if I were thinking about what it would be to actually pay for this piece right here, this is sterling silver. This is a piece that eventually is going to be formed into a ring, which is another really cool thing about metal, is not only can you bend it to serve a function, so have a bracelet right here, but you can also imprint texture into it. It takes that really nicely. So I have a texture imprinted into this. And here you can see I have a texture on the bottom ring form rather than the one that spins up here. So if I were trying to, give myself a budget and I was trying to figure out and estimate how much I needed to spend on something, what I'd do is I'd go ahead and weigh my metal. You're going to use the scale for that. Go ahead and turn that on. Hold that button for a few seconds. You'll see some zeros here, and then it will rest on a 0.0. Once you have that, double check to make sure it has a G right there for grams. If it's not in the right mode, if it has carat or ounce weight, you want to move the mode or push the mode dial until you get that G. On your metal goes. This actually weighs 9.7 grams. So if I were to multiply 9.7 times 0.6, which is the cost, I have about a $6 piece right here if I'm doing this in sterling. Now if I had cut it out of brass or copper, then I would have a 60 cents material cost on this. So this ring right here, the material costs on this, I would multiply 9.1 by 0.6, and that's what I would have spent on that sterling silver. Copper bracelet, 18.7 grams, so that cost me $1.80 in materials to make this right here. So once you have some materials that you're thinking about, creatively, it's just so exciting because there's millions and millions of things that you can do here. So if you take a look at these pieces right here, I have 3 different pieces made out of copper, and every one of them has a different style to them and a different complexity. And that's the beautiful thing about this process, is you get to come up with your designing. This student was taking a look at sound and metal, and he wanted something interactive. So he used copper, and you'll notice that it's permanently bonded here. That's called soldering. This one is just a really simple bracelet with an imprinted texture. And then we have a very, very tarnished, because metal will, with time, when air and water hit it, go ahead and tarnish. You can always bring that surface back up with some emery or polishing. So this is actually serving as a ring, but it's not really a functional ring because it would be catching on stuff. So sometimes you're creating decorative pieces. This student decided to go with a little bit of whimsy, and she was making this little bat-like form out of her metal. You'll notice the eyes are stone sets. That's an advanced technique that we tackle in jewelry too. So we have a silver piece right here. This piece is a brass and copper piece, and this is just a few examples of the millions of possibilities that you can bring towards where are you going to take your base materials in terms of your final design. So until next time, bye-bye.